Hey gang, it's Jesse Green here, your friend and colleague, and you're listening to another episode of the Savvy Dentist podcast. As I'm recording this, we are rapidly approaching Christmas 2025, and some of you may already be on holidays, some of you might be planning holidays, and some of you may be actually working. So here at Savvy Dentist, we run what we call a lifestyle business, and what that really means is when I'm at work, I'm working hard. I love my work, I enjoy it, I get immense satisfaction from it, but equally, I also enjoy some downtime. I like to spend time with my wife and my daughters. I like to pursue things that I enjoy outside of work, chasing tennis balls around a court, all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure you have your own pursuits too. So whether you're actually taking a break over this period or whether you're working the break and using it as a financial season of opportunity, I think it's really important to make sure that as you grow your business, you remember to take breaks, because one of the things that we know is it's really important to recharge the batteries. You can't run a marathon at sprint pace. And so taking the opportunity to stop and to pause and to reflect and to reset is very important. Now, here in Australia, in the Southern Hemisphere, it's our summer holidays, and so it's a really logical and neat time to do that. But if you're listening to this in the Northern Hemisphere, then maybe it's a shorter break and you have your summer holidays later in the year, of course. So what I'd like to do is, as we approach the holiday period, as most of us in Australia are going to be taking a break, I want to go through a bit of a year in review. And I think this is a really important thing, just to kind of take stock of the year that's been, the 2025 that's been. And the purpose of this is what we call forward-focused reflection. And oftentimes dentists who are, frankly, perfectionist in nature, we need to be for our clinical work, when we reflect on things, sometimes we use those lessons to kind of self-flagellate. We beat ourselves up for things that didn't quite work out. And obviously, if things did work out, we can feel a sense of satisfaction. That's great. But most dentists I know ignore the things that go well, and they focus on the things that didn't. They not focus on the one thing that didn't go so well, and they use that as a stick to beat themselves. So as we go through this end-of-year review process, I want to make sure we cover all the bases. And so we're going to begin the end-of-year review with question number one, which is around something that you feel really grateful for or really proud of. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to list the top 3 to 5 things you're either really proud of or really grateful for. Gratitude, I believe, is a keystone habit because it is one of the keys that unlocks happiness. Personal, professional happiness is very much related to the expression of gratitude. And so in our family, every night around the dinner table, we'll talk about our 3 good things, 3 things that either went well or 3 things that we're grateful for. And it's the same exercise I'm going to ask you to do here. As you reflect on 2025, what are 3 to 5 things you feel either really proud of or really grateful for? Now, the second question in this year in review is really about asking yourselves, what are the challenges that I had to encounter and how did I grow from them? Now, let me just say this. If you've been in business for more than 5 minutes, you're going to have been through some challenges. You're going to have your ups and downs because they are unavoidable. Sometimes they're kind of day-to-day irritations and other times they're more significant. But what I really want to reflect on here is not so much the challenge in and of itself, but what you learned from that. What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about your practice? What did you learn about your team? What did you learn about life in general? And let's capture those lessons so that we can take them into the new year. Now, the third question I really want to focus on is really about open loops. And what are the open loops or the incomplete things that you have on your plate at the moment? Because what we know is when we have incomplete tasks rattling around our brain, it occupies bandwidth. And when we go on to our holidays, those open loops kind of niggle away and I've got to remember when I get back to work to do A or B or C. And so I want to make sure that we take all of those things that are rattling around your brain, the incomplete tasks, I call them open loops, and write them down on paper and capture everything. Spend a good 20 minutes on it if you need to, but write down all the things that are incomplete or need to be done upon return. And the reason I'm going to ask you to do that is once you've captured that on paper, it allows your brain to not maintain those open files, which means you go into a holiday in a more relaxed state. You're going to get more rejuvenation, more relaxation, and you're going to come back better for having a better break. So if we're going to have a good break, let's make sure we give our brain the opportunity to decompress too by capturing those open loops on paper. And then, of course, what I'd really like you to reflect on is what are your aspirations for next year? What are the big things that you want to achieve? And one of the exercises that I really love is to imagine that it's now the 31st of December 2026. And if we were standing at that particular point in time, looking back to today, what would need to be true for us to be able to put hand on heart and say, 2026 has been a fantastic year. It's been the best year. It's been the most wonderful year. It's been a spectacular year. Whatever it is for you, what are those handful of achievements that would need to be met or accomplished for you to feel like 2026 has been a remarkable year for you. So again, write those down. I mentioned at the outset that Savvy Dentist is a lifestyle business. And one of the things I really want for all the clients that we work with in our Practice Max Mastermind is for them to create a lifestyle business of their own. And what is a lifestyle business? So let me share that with you. And so a lifestyle business is one where you make the amount of money that you want to make, and whatever that is for you. There's no right or wrong answer around any of that. And you work the hours that you want to work with the type of work that you want to be doing. So if you really love clinical dentistry or a particular element of clinical dentistry, you fill your day largely with those sorts of things that you enjoy. If your enjoyment lies elsewhere, then your day is filled with running the business or whatever it happens to be. Again, everyone's different, but everyone's lifestyle business should match their own definition of what happiness and success looks like. And so as we think about a lifestyle business, typically it's going to involve some form of leverage, right? Now, if you really love your clinical work, you're going to try and get rid of all your admin and other related activities. If you don't love clinical work, you're going to try and delegate that so you can focus on the business growth and the opportunities that brings. And so one of the things that as you approach 2026, thinking about, I'm going to have my best year ever. And in Practice Max, we call that setting your big, beautiful goal. So as you go about chasing your big, beautiful goal, it's really important to think about how we use our time. So I'm going to ask you to think about the things you need to start doing. What are the things I need to do more of or start doing? What are the things I need to do less of? And what are the things I just need to eliminate? And one of the things I really like about elimination is you set yourself a floor, and anything that falls below the floor, we get to eliminate. We either get to delegate it, we get to just not do it at all, or we maybe even get to automate it as well. And so as you start thinking about creating your own lifestyle business, as I said, leverage is going to be really key for you. And that means we've got to make sure your time is used for its highest and best use. So in order to do that, we need to identify the things we want to do more of, things we want to do less of, and the things we just want to stop altogether. So as I mentioned earlier, we are approaching the end of 2025, which means it's the end of the calendar year, but it's actually only halfway through the financial year. So if a financial year is a game of two halves, much like a game of football, we're going to go into the sheds, we're going to talk to our footy coach, and they're going to give us a bit of a pep talk about how to perform in the second half. But of course, how we perform in the second half is going to be determined by what are the goals we have, right? And so what I really want to reflect on is, how are you going to make these next 6 months, the first 6 months of 2026, to finish the financial year very strongly? What are you going to reflect on? And I want to give you some thoughts to consider as you come back from the break. And the first one is, how do you want your numbers to be different? If you look at the numbers thus far, how do you want them to be different? How do you want your revenue to be different? How do you want your profit to be different? How do you want your new patient numbers to be different? How do you want your retention numbers to be different? Whatever it is, what are they now? And how do you want them to be different in the first 6 months so we finish the financial year really strongly? And then, of course, how do you want your team to be different? Do you need to hire anyone? Do you need to up-level your team? Do you want to have skills acquisitions being undertaken for some of your team members? And dare I say, is there anyone that maybe doesn't cut the mustard and may need to find other opportunities? So again, something to consider there. Equally, when it comes to your patients, I want to think about your patient experience. If we can accept the fact that patients are going to tell a story about your practice, irrespective of what you do, how do we choreograph a great story for them to tell? How do we work on that patient experience so that they leave with a story that we want them to talk about, so they can tell their family, tell their friends about what an amazing experience they've had at your practice? Where do you want to up-level your customer experience? And when you do that, think about the types of patients you want to attract to the practice. Am I attracting my ideal patients right now? If I am, great. But if I'm not, who do I want to attract instead of the ones that my marketing is bringing in now? And that leads me to think about, well, how does your marketing need to be different in the new year? What worked last year? What do we need to do this year to make sure we're attracting more of those ideal patients for you? And then finally, let's think about you. How do you want your role in the practice to be different? Are you happy doing the things that you're doing? I just asked you to do that exercise of do more of, do less of, and stop doing. What's your role in the business, and how do you want that to be different? How do you want your time or your week at a macro level to be different? And then, of course, what do you want your lifestyle to look like in 2026? How do you want that to be different? So as you go through these exercises, I think it's just a useful time over the summer holidays to reflect on what's been and where we're going next. So gang, As we round out 2025 and start 2026, I hope you take the opportunity to reflect on some of these questions, because one of the things that we know is great businesses are not built by default, they are built by design. And every single person is going to build a slightly different business. Now, here at Practice Max, one of the things we really understand is that every single practice owner is different, every single practice is different. Therefore, every single practice needs to be built, yes, according to a set of universal business principles, but in a way that is individual and specific to the desires and the wishes of the practice owner. And so one of the things I want for you is to build a business that you love, not one that you come to hate because you followed someone else's blueprint. Throw away someone else's blueprint. Start thinking about your own lifestyle business. What does that mean for you? What would that look like for you? What would that mean for your family? What would that mean for your future? And start building the business of your dreams rather than someone else's. So without any further ado, all the best for the festive season. I look forward to seeing you all in 2026. Take good care. Bye for now. Hey everyone, it's Jesse here. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the podcast. If you're looking for some more tools, some more insights, some more inspiration to help you create a practice that you love, as well as a life that you love, well, head across to savvydentist.com and check out all the goodies that we have there waiting for you right now.